Advertising has a role in impacting cultural change, and advertising is very much a microcosm of the stories out there in the real world. And so having inclusion and representation at the heart of that is important in how we see those stories and how we tell those stories.
When I talk about what it's like to be from a minority group in terms of lived experiences, I think it's just that feeling that you don't fit in.
Even if we just look at the media, 59% of articles that are about Muslims are negative. Over a third misrepresent or are stereotyped. And I think that constant messaging slowly can almost make you feel like the parts of you that make you you are things that you should hide.
I went and got my hair cut, #1 all the way around, so shaved my head. When they thought that I was a boy, nobody said that I couldn't play football. Nobody questioned how good I was. I was pretending to be something I wasn't, but I felt much more at home. I felt part of the team.
I first remember sort of experiencing racism when I was about 5 or 6, and my family moved to a new area, and bricks were thrown through our window because people didn't like the fact that we were a black family moving into a white area.
My best friend, she was buying makeup, and I inquired what choice is there for me, and the shop assistant said that, "I'm sorry, madam, we only stock normal colours."
The first time that I became really aware of that we needed better representation in advertising was working as a junior creative on a social campaign. And I put forward an LGBT couple, two females, to be part of this campaign. The next morning, I came into a meeting with my MD and CEO, and they said that the client was really angry. They hadn't realised we'd put an LGBT couple forward. It really hit me straight in their heart. I can't believe that they'll allow me to create all their work, but to be part of their work or be in front of that work, they just didn't want it there.
I would be left off pitch teams. Even if I'd worked on the pitch behind the scenes, I would be left off pitch teams because the agencies I worked for at the time didn't want to give the client the wrong impression, whatever that looked like.
I just knew that at times I had a bit of a block towards me.
Something needs to change. Representation needs to be out there, and it needs to be a positive thing for brands.
I think for me, I was always conscious of the need for better representation in advertising because I never saw myself on screen.
And for that reason, I felt like I could never also be that woman that would be on the front of a beauty campaign. I never felt like I could be on the front of like Vogue because I never saw that.
And I think that definitely impacted how I felt about myself. That's the definition of beauty that you grow up with, and if you can't, if that doesn't reflect you, then what that says to you is that you're not beautiful.
You need to see yourself in the advert you're consuming.
If you can't see it, you can't be it.
There is a lot of lazy, unfounded untruths and stereotypes and associations that are accredited to minority groups.
Like overly camp representations of gay men, like we saw James Corden do in Prom, or there's some other ads that have been over time where the camp person is the annoying one or the irritating one.
Being perverted, sexually irresponsible, like there's a real kind of sexual stigma that exists around LGBTQ plus people.
You think of Islam, and a lot of the things that you think about thanks to media it's a bomber.
People like me and groups like me, we're treated as imposters within structures, within systems. And so that has a knock-on effect to then how you see yourself and also how other groups see you.
Black females are aggressive. That's a very, very lazy trope and very, very harmful. And what it discounts is adversity, the power of adversity, the fact that black women have actually had a lot on their shoulders for a very long time and had to still keep it going. And that power of adversity is something that black women can tap into and create into something remarkable. But because of the stereotypes, it dismisses all of that, and that means innovation is lost. People withdraw because they feel exhausted of having to fight those stereotypes again and again and again. It's like tiny little paper cuts over and over again on your identity.
And I think that constant messaging to a person, regardless of how confident they are in their identity, slowly can chip away. It's almost like waves chipping at a shoreline.
When did I feel truly represented in advertising? I don't think I've ever have, actually. I think every now and again you see glimpses. You see glimpses of the kind of sense of humour, the kind of personalities that I know is out there. I do see now a lot more people of colour on the telly now and within ads. I get the feeling now it's been, let's get more of them on the screen.
The danger is that as advertisers, we actually start following trends and doing picking trendy communities. I think the LGBT community was definitely a trendy one, and now we're seeing people picking up the black community, which is great and essential, but we also need to think why and how.
It would always be a South Asian woman who's either been forced into marriage or who's desperate to get married or comes from a family which the only thing that they can see for that woman is marriage and having a family. And my family didn't necessarily push that onto me. They always encouraged me to go out and be independent and make a career for myself, and I never saw that on TV.
Disabled people, when we don't see ourselves represented in a positive light, when we only see us as victims or being portrayed as people who are suffering or don't want to live a joyous life, we internalise that and then we start to believe that as well.
Are we just showing one type of person within those communities? Drag, although a really great and celebratory part of our communities, become a trend. We've seen it in bank ads, we've seen it in car ads, we've seen it in every different type of ad, but we haven't seen anything else.
We want to portray South Asian women as being independent. We want to celebrate them as whole individuals, as kind of multi-dimensional individuals, and I think that's often missing from campaigns.
We need to show that breadth, and actually LGBT people from all communities do everything that anyone else does, but we don't show that. So I think that's what we need to start doing to sort of making more progressive representations. I felt truly represented when I saw my family looking back at me. I think having a 6-year-old, being a gay man, you don't often see that reflected back. I think we've started to see little bits of representation out there, more so for actually gay parents, gay male parents than any other part of the community. But I remember seeing an ad, I think it was in McCain's, where 2 guys were opening the oven and there was a baby there, and I was like, oh my God, that's my family. And more so that my child's there and she can see her family as well.
Childline's Understand Me campaign, which we got involved in as well back in 2018, was about tackling discrimination and hate crimes towards children from different ethnic minority backgrounds. I guess the reason I really liked about it was I saw myself in it, in the sense of a Muslim boy with a traditional attire, with a backpack, being treated as a sort of terrorist with a bomb. And I've been in that situation. And I love the fact that a brand tackled that, and they tackled it in a way that they believed in us, in what we do, versus challenging what we were trying to do.
Something that had a really big impact on me was seeing how the children reacted to the FIFA game. Once that women were in that FIFA game, then all the children were talking about it. FIFA had given them that platform, and that they deserved a place to be looked at in the same light as the male players. So once you create a game like that to children, it kind of normalises football is a game for everybody. It doesn't matter what gender you are.
Representation means seeing myself celebrated, even just for a moment on screen. So to see the work that we were able to create with the Amazon ad, an intergenerational conversation between 2 black women through the lens of kindness, to this day is really powerful, still makes me cry. Something I can proudly tell my family that I was a part of, but I know for other black women who look like me, it was a moment we'll never forget.
I think the best way to avoid stereotypes around representation is tell authentic stories. Make sure you're doing your research. Make sure the people doing the research are from the background you're trying to target.
Listen to people from minoritized communities, move beyond intention and really think about impact. And I would say often we use this phrase, people like to consult. Oh, we consulted with this organisation, that organisation. We consulted with this community. It needs to go beyond consultation and involve and embed those communities in your decision making at every level. And my final bit of advice would be to challenge your agencies on this stuff and don't give up. Don't accept, oh, we only ever work with these partners, or we don't have the budget, or our budget needs to go here. I feel strongly that it's brands that need to lead the charge, and that means holding your agencies to accountable, because I genuinely believe that, you know, the industry is sort of ready and needs to do this. They're just looking for brands to lead, and brands need to lead in this space.
I think it's so important, you know, inside of our own organisations, that we do lots in order to make people, our colleagues, feel like they can be them, but also that we use the power of our craft to make people outside of our organisations, society, feel like they can be them as well.
If you don't want to be seen as woke washing, make it about actually identifying where your brand can have an impact and what you're going to do in the long term.